This meeting of the General Government Committee is being held in a hybrid meeting format with virtual and in-person participation by members of the public, staff, and council. This meeting is also being live streamed and may be viewed online at ajax.ca/live. A friendly reminder to all participants to please use their microphone at all times for the benefits of those participating in council chambers and joining remotely. I'll now call the meeting to order. I would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas. More specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Thank you. So, can I have a motion to approve the regular meeting date, the regular meeting of December 8th, 2025? Councillor Bauer, thank you. So I do have some polls on the agenda. So
to you, Madam Chair, can we just call the vote for that item, please?
Sorry?
Just call the vote for that item, please.
Sorry, all in favor? Are we all in favor? Thank you. Yep. I'm not sure how I do. So I do have some polls. 4.1 was pulled by Councillor Bauer. 4.3 was pulled by Regional Councillor Crawford and Councillor Tyler Moran. 4.4 was pulled by Councillor Bauer. 4.5 by Regional Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bauer, and Councillor Henry. And 4.6 was pulled by Councillor Bauer. So 4.1. Oh, there's just one. I think we have one. Yeah, sorry. We have a motion to approve just the remaining agenda items, please. Call all in favor? Thank you. All in favor? Are we good? Thank you. So we'll start with 4.1. Councillor Bauer. So this will be on the medical priority dispatch systems and tiered response agreement. I have to push the button.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. I just had one quick question. It's page 12 of the agenda, where it lists the bullet items under the new dispatch system. And the third bullet says individuals who call 911 for non-life-threatening issues may be waiting longer for service. So I just wanted to ask for a little bit of clarification for that, because it seems contradictory to what you would want response times for a 911 call to be.
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer, I'd like to start off by welcoming the Chief of Durham Region Paramedic Services, Troy Cheeseborough here. This is about prioritizing resources to ensure that the right resources are on scene as quickly as possible. I'll call him up just to say a few more words in regards to the MPDS for paramedic services.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for the question. And through the chair, to provide a bit of a high-level review of MPDS. MPDS is designed around sending the best resource to the patient at in the best amount of time. So that's a significant change from the previous dispatch algorithm. So to provide some context of that, On the previous algorithm, about 96 or above% of all calls were responded with lights and sirens, which is an increased risk to the public and increased risk to the members that are responding as well. Under the new dispatch system, we're probably closer to 70% of those calls are responded on lights and sirens. So there's color priorities that respond to those. The old system, for example, if I was playing soccer in the summer and it was 30 degrees out, one of the questions they would ask, and I rolled my ankle, one of the questions they ask is, are you sweaty? If you said yes, an ambulance was coming lights and sirens along with probably the fire department, which we didn't feel is appropriate use, and neither did the province, therefore they changed the algorithm. The algorithm now sends the most appropriate resource at the most appropriate time. So therefore, what that means is if you're prioritized as an orange, yellow, or green, we can defer those calls for a period of time. So that way we can ensure that we're getting the closest resource to the patient that needs them. So if that same situation was to happen in Ajax, that could mean that, for example, I send an ambulance from Curtis to deal with that ankle injury because I want to keep an ambulance in Ajax available to respond to the life-threatening emergencies that could come up next. That's why the delay in that response. And again, our highest need clients are getting the resources as quickly as possible. It's the lower priority needs that we're not urgently getting to those calls. We're still servicing them, just not as quickly.
All right. Understood. Thank you for that answer. Thank you for the explanation. That was my only question.
Okay, Councillor Tyler Moran.
Thank you so much, and through you, Madam Chair, to you, Chief. Thanks for being here today and all the work you do throughout the year with you and your team. Is this something that's relatively easy to implement, where you give codes to the operators and say, okay, from now on, that kind of thing? Or is it going to take a series of training periods and that kind of thing? Just on a very high level, simple level, is it easy to implement this?
So through the chair, yes, it's already been implemented. It became live in May of last year, but to give you again a bit of a concept of the amount of work that went into it, in the previous algorithm, we had somewhere around 50 different criteria that had to be met. The new one has over 2,600 criteria that are evaluated on every call.
There you go. Okay, well, that's great. Glad to hear this. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming today. So we will move on to, sorry. You'll move it? All right, thank you. You have a mover, Councillor Bauer? Okay, moving on to 4.3, which was pulled by Councillor Crawford and Councillor Tyler Moran regarding the arena refrigeration maintenance and parts contract. I can't hear you. Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't have my notes in front of me. I'm having a bit of a problem with connectivity with Mr. Walker sitting out there. But anyways, we'll talk about that after. Through you to, I believe, Mr. Vida, just double checking. I see it's $114,000, again, don't have it in front of me, and some change to maintain the refrigeration at ACC and Pat Bailey Square and the Village. So when the Village comes up, we kind of ask, out of that 114,000, how's the breakdown? And obviously the quick answer, or the quick question is, can we stop doing this? Can we just rip everything out of there? What are your thoughts?
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Tyler Moran. So this contract is effectively a service contract for refrigeration systems. It oversees things like general maintenance, the startups and shutdowns of our arenas where we pull ice out and put it back in, includes inspections of all the safety devices and controls and emergency controls in place for our systems, as well as any regular maintenance and repairs. Village Arena does continue to have a system based on us providing ice there in the past. The costs that are affiliated with the Village are quite minimal. In 2025, our total expenditures on this contract were $82,000 for the year. Zero was spent on Village. In 2024, we had approximately $2,000 in costs at Village, which was basically just to inspect some of the safety devices is to ensure it's not going to cause harm for any staff or any member of the public. To your question about pulling it out, we could certainly look at that. To pull out that system would probably be upwards of tens of thousands of dollars, and in the opinion of staff would be far more expensive than just leaving as is until such time as we reconstruct that property.
Okay, yeah, that answers the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford, do you have any questions? No. Okay, thank you. Can I have someone move it then, please? Thank you. Councillor Lee? Thank you. That's passed. So we'll go now to item 4.4 on the agenda, which was pulled by Councillor Bauer regarding the delegation of authority for the restricted acts after nomination day for the 2026 election. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick question is, I know this is standard practice every election period, but I'm wondering how often or has this delegation ever been used here in Ajax? Maybe prior to 2022 election or 2018 election?
Through you, Madam Chair. Through our records, Ajax has not used the delegated authority for the 2018 or 2022 election, but I would recommend that this continue to move forward as a delegated process in the event that something is required to be signed or made a decision on during a potential restricted act period.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was my only question. Chair.
Any other questions from council? No? Okay. You move it then? Thank you. All in favor then? Please vote. I did push it. It's locked. Councillor Crawford, you had a question?
On 4.5.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this report. I have a question on a couple of things. One of the things that was mentioned here was, noise related from reasonable enjoyment of property shall be constituted as a shall not be constituted as a violation of this bylaw, providing such noise is not of an excessive in nature. So who makes that determination?
Thank you. I'll just ask Mr. Campbell to come up and respond to that question.
Sorry about that.
Looks like he was deep in thought, so he may need it
Looks
repeated.
like you're making that decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was deep in thought. Could you repeat the question?
Just, it says here that, enjoyment in your property is not a noise violation as long as it's not excessive in nature. So my question would be, who makes that determination?
That's a good question. The reason for that to be included in the exempted activities is to essentially allow us to continue to not enforce complaints that are typically around normal use of property. So a good example we always use is children playing in a swimming pool, playing basketball.
Oh, that's a very interesting one. Actually, since we just had that situation.
Yeah, or playing basketball in the driveway, these kinds of things. The officers use their experience and their training to essentially look at the complaint, the evidence they have, make a determination as to the enforceability, the likelihood of a conviction, to determine whether it's unreasonable or likely to disturb the neighboring property.
Okay, don't go anywhere. So if I look at the timeframes in which this bylaw would apply, we don't actually have bylaw officers working during that time frame, correct?
Which time frame are you speaking to?
11 p.m. to 7 a.m. There's varying times in here where it's mentioned. So how does this bylaw get enforced? Because it seems to be one of those bylaws that, I get it, everybody likes to pull it out when it applies to their property, but it's like virtually impossible to enforce unless we're having to go to the police? Because I know police do enforce bylaw offenses, correct?
Correct, yeah. This is certainly a contentious bylaw. It's difficult to enforce because quite often the complaint will come in. By the time the officer is able to respond, the noise has stopped. We do rely on submissions from complainants, evidence provided from neighbors, whether that be video recordings, doorbell cameras, audio recordings at times, or even statements or noise logs that are produced and weighed on. I think I lost you, sorry. So we do rely heavily on evidence that's submitted from third parties. If the officer is able to be present at that time and respond in a time that does allow us to collect that evidence ourselves, that's certainly the best way to go about it, but we do rely heavily on submissions as well.
You're here. You are done.
Thank you.
If I could just add a comment on that, if you don't mind. Just wanted to add that we essentially do have bylaw officers working round the clock at this point. It's really evolved into a 24/7 operation, and hours of work really wouldn't place a constraint if we had to investigate a noise issue that was occurring repeatedly during their irregular hours of work. We would just still schedule someone to conduct that investigation.
But unless somebody is, sorry, I don't mean to belabor this, it just seems to be one of those bylaws that for me it's irritating because the reaction time is almost impossible, right? So you might have a window where there's a loud noise and it's irritating everyone in the neighborhood, but by the time somebody gets there, it's gone. So you can't really enforce something you don't hear, right? So are we supposed to tell residents, you got to record it all?
That would certainly be, yeah, and when residents make a complaint, the officer will reach out to them and have a conversation educating them on our processes, the best way to move forward. Sometimes when a complaint is made, enforcement per se isn't necessary. It might just be a friendly conversation. The officer would attend the property in complaint, and make them aware that a complaint was received and try to work to them towards a resolution. So it may not even get to the point where we need to collect the evidence. Hopefully it doesn't. Our goal is compliance, but certainly if it does get to that point, the officer would work one-on-one with the complainant to find the best way to collect that evidence. Maybe it is scheduling, a certain time for the officer to attend. If it's a specific complaint to Friday night music or something of that nature, we always look to be creative and find ways to enforce it.
Okay, thank you. And around the clock, now we have bylaw around the clock. How many bylaw officers do we have working around the clock?
It does vary at different times. I would say overnight between midnight and 6 a.m., 2 to 3.
Because of the parking?
Correct, yeah, but they could deviate from their normal parking to deal with complaints for noise as needed, of course. And then in the evening about 2 to 3 as well, and then during the day anywhere from 6 to 10.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Henry?
Thank you. So I'm going to elaborate onto that because I'm a little confused. The last 3 years, what I've been told was that, and thank you for clarifying that we do have bylaw that can attend. What I was told by your predecessor was that we could not have bylaw officers going to noise complaints because that could involve folks on hand that are drinking and rowdy. It could lead to confrontation and it puts a bylaw officer in danger. And thus the procedure was that residents were to submit the complaint and a follow-through would come afterwards during working hours, which means that the resident submitting the complaint would need to have far more evidence than they would on hand. So I guess what I'm asking now is that still the path of travel, or are you now saying that officers could go to it? Because when I go to Durham Regional Police, the pushback I'm getting is that you have bylaw on staff, they can go deal with the complaint, and we have to deal with more serious things. So there was like this space of air in between where nobody was going to address it, and there was follow-through afterwards. But like you said, it might be less successful because nobody was on site to see or hear. So are we now, I need to know what to tell residents, and just like what Councillor Crawford said, are we telling residents, submit the complaint, gather your own evidence, and we'll deal with it after the fact? Or if they call in to a certain number, will somebody respond that day?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The biggest thing here is that we do not offer a dispatch service. We don't have the resources to take complaints after hours and respond within a quick time frame enough to deal with the complaint. We do investigate these complaints after the fact. Like you said, when the officer receives the complaint, they'll reach out to the complainant, gather the information, find out what happened, and then determine the best course of action, whether that be and it would depend on the history here. If it's there are a lot of complaints against the property, it might lead to a direct enforcement as opposed to an education or compliance check. But towards your complaint about the safety of the officers, of course, that's something that would be considered. There's ways to gather evidence for a noise violation without creating a confrontation situation. The officer could observe the noise from the roadway. The biggest piece here is that we just don't have the ability to offer a dispatch service to take that complaint at midnight and be there within 30 minutes. Any investigations into noise complaints overnight would be scheduled in advance based on complaints that were previously received. So perhaps a particularly problematic property that has complaints every weekend, these types of things.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, so I'm going to repeat back what I think I heard. So are you saying that if a resident, like for instance, I have an area in Nottingham where there's this huge house party every year, and I have like 20, 30 complaints from residents in Nottingham, different areas all around, it's so loud. So that happens once a year. In that situation, you receive the complaint and a bylaw officer responded to the complaint, the party, even if it went till like 2 or 3 in the morning, the officer might not get there that day. So is that what you're saying? The officer might not get there that day and then a follow-through would come after with gathered evidence?
No, if we had enough time in advance to plan, I think you suggested that the complainant could provide us that information ahead of time and we knew days in advance, we could prepare to be there.
So only if it's something we know that's coming, but if it wasn't something we know is coming, you would deal with it after the fact, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So with regards to everything else in this bylaw, what does this look like as far as what was and what is, like the red line changes here? What's the big difference here?
The biggest difference here, I think, is it's best practice to conduct a comprehensive review of your bylaws periodically. And in this case, we try to strive for every 5 years, review the bylaw, make sure that it's up to date with best practices, current technologies and contracts, administrative monetary penalties, these kinds of things. The biggest thing that you're going to see here, I think, is clarifying some of the offenses, creating a bit more examples through the prohibited noises section that you'll see in Schedule A that really outlines for residents what is appropriate versus what is not, as opposed to just a blanket noise section or prohibition that says you can't cause unnecessary noise. Well, what does that look like? So what we've done is taken it a step further through some review of other municipalities, some research as to what are some of the things that we want to include in our prohibited section that people ought to know are prohibited. Things like unnecessary revving of engines, unnecessary honking of horns, loud music that can be heard within a neighboring property's dwelling, just some of the obvious unreasonable issues that we deal with quite often. It creates a little bit more enforceability and more clarity for officers to take complaints and objectively look at them and know how to handle those complaints.
And what does that mean as far as, like, currently right now, my understanding, and I know Regional Councillor Crawford dealt with something in the summer in South Ajax. There was an issue with somebody who was in a commercial building, wasn't supposed to be in the commercial building, big hoopla over it, caused a lot of residents in South Ajax from like kilometers and kilometers away hearing the noise. So what we've been told up till now is that there's no time reframe, day or night, on what's the noise level standard. Like if you're bothering the neighbor, and of course reasonable, I'm not talking about kids in a pool or basketball, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking like excessive noise. We've been told it's not about the time of day. So when police are called, police will respond often with something like, well, it's not 11 o'clock yet. And we're like, well, no, we don't have that in Ajax. It's about the noise level, not the time frame in which you're disturbing the person. Is that still in appliance, that it's about the time of day and not, we're not going to say, hey, you can go cause as much noise as you want next door till 11 o'clock and then shut it down?
Correct, yeah. In general, there are no general prohibitions or exemptions for the time limits. There are a few specific ones that are included, construction being one. We want to limit when construction is appropriately happening, typically during the days when you'd want to see that. So it makes it very clear that construction activities causing noise should not be happening overnight. As well as waste collection. Through the supply chain, you have to be careful what you limit in terms of waste removal, snow removal, these kinds of things. The bylaw does stipulate that the collection of waste is prohibited from midnight till 6 a.m. So there are a few nuanced time limits, but in general, you're correct. There are no general blanket time limits for noise. People operate on different schedules. They work shift work, these kinds of things. So when one person may be sleeping, that may be another person's leisure time.
That's a great answer, because honestly, that's what Ajax residents want to hear, to be honest with you. We have a lot of people that do shift work. So I think my final question would be, when we talk about construction, and I just want to be careful here, because we know that we've got the big development from Medallion on Roslyn, we've got the Roslyn Road widening coming and the Hardwood widening coming. We're not talking about extending that into hours when the majority of folks will be sleeping. That's not what we're talking about here, correct?
That's correct, yeah. The public infrastructure is exempt for the noise. What we're discussing in the bylaw with respect to construction would be a private development building. So if a condo was being built in a residential neighborhood, they would be required to cease their operations by a certain time. Just to provide some relief for the neighboring property, we couldn't permit a 24/7 construction operation. The people in the neighborhood would get no reprieve from that.
That's good to hear, as the Ward 2 councillor with some construction going on. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Campbell, come on back. Happy New Year. So just a couple more. Thank you to Regional Councillor Crawford and Councillor Henry. Some of my questions have been answered. So is this bylaw, I really appreciate the addition of the residential renovations to close that loophole for the construction work. I appreciate that, because many residents call or email me about that. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you. And then just a comment, one of the exemptions, page 33 of the report, talks about the operation of a horn. The amendments are reflective of comparative municipal noise bylaw regulations and common noise complaints. It talks the operation of a horn or other warning device, except where required and authorized by law, or in the interest of good safety practices. So does that mean the van or small truck that has the reverse beep sound when someone's driving backwards?
No, that would not be included in the prohibition. The reason for the inclusion of that in the schedule is to prevent unnecessary honking of the horns due to
So actual horns.
anger, road rage, whether they're just trying to be unreasonable or annoy somebody. It's specifically in there to prevent that, not for safety devices like the backing up of heavy trucks or honking as required to alert somebody that, that you're coming down the road and they should probably get off the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just the comment about shift work too, and the times when people are awake and working versus home and sleeping, that is one of the Ward 3 complaints, is a residential neighborhood where someone drives a van with that reverse beep at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 3 a.m., and it's quite disturbing to some of the neighbors, but I think that is a safety requirement, correct?
Correct, yeah. I would suggest that we don't have the authority to limit the noise on that. It's something that's required provincially.
For sure. And then Councillor Henry's example of a house party, an annual house party. Would that be an example where someone, would they be allowed to apply for the exemption? There's that application fee now in the application. Would that be something like like an annual event like that?
Great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we've expanded the scope of the exemptions beyond that of construction to permit special events as well. So things like weddings, even public events or public-facing events that are privately held on town property. You could apply for a special event noise exemption to allow you to exceed the noise bylaw for a one-time event. And there's some pieces in there that would allow us to alert the neighboring property members and just provide that I guess, relief or protection that they would need to enjoy their event for that one time.
Okay, so then this would be, I guess this would be linked, or the, like, facility bookings or people who are requiring permits for certain things. Would that be part of the application process now with this exemption, noise exemption application?
It is currently built into the special events process team that we have with parks. I don't know if every single facility's booking would include a note that would alert the person to potentially apply for that. It's something that we could look into. But certainly with respect to the larger scale special events, we do have a process in place that alerts bylaw when those do come through.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned where residents could keep a log, record a log, and the only example that I can think of would be the dog barking. So is that part of this bylaw, or that's a different bylaw?
It is, yes, and you're right, that's the most common use of the noise log would be for barking dogs.
Okay. Okay, and back to the question about who gets to decide what's excessive. In the report, there is mention about those measuring machines, I guess. Can you just tell us why we wouldn't want to do that here?
I think the biggest reason most municipalities tend to stay away from the decibel readers is the level of service that you can provide based on your resources, right? So there'd be a significant cost associated with being able to provide that service. The decibel reader would require officers to be able to respond very, very quickly to attend when the noise is still occurring to make that measurement. We wouldn't be able to take submissions from members of the public to provide, I used a decibel reader on this date, it was 100, please go charge them now. It would essentially require the officer to be there to observe that noise.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Those were my questions.
Thank you. I have a mover, Councillor Crawford. Thank you. Good? Okay, thank you. So the last one on today's agenda here was pulled by Councillor Bauer as well. It's the Waterfront Parking Management Program for the 2025 season review. Councillor Bauer? Getting there.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I wanted to say thank you very much to staff for doing this review. I know it's been 5 years, so I think it was a good time to do that check. And based on the results and what's indicated in the report, most of the impacted residents feel, satisfied that the plan is working the way that it's supposed to. Of course, that doesn't mean everybody. One of the recommendations, or the recommendation to extend the registration validity period from 1 year to 3 years, I think is an excellent idea, so thank you very much for that. And maybe I'll just comment, the main concerns that Regional Councillor Dyes and I have heard from our residents about that program are, guests who are coming to the waterfront during that time, but they're not actually coming to the waterfront, they're coming to visit people who live there. So they may feel penalized that they have to adhere to this plan when they're not there to visit the waterfront. And I think, it's very hard to find a middle ground, but I think the increase of guest passes and the opportunity to apply for some of those permits is a reasonable response to that. I don't think it's going to make everybody happy, but, I'm trying to see how these concerns have been touched. The very inconvenient and cumbersome process to register was a big complaint, and I'm really glad to see that it's now going to be a 3-year period. So I think that has answered that. And then the only other comment, or maybe it's a question, is One of the other concerns we get is when residents in that area are having their driveways repaved or some kind of work that requires them staying off their driveways and parking. So how does, what would be the best solution for that so that they're not, you know, where there's been instances where the driveway's, you know, ribboned off because it's been repaved, but then they got a ticket? Or their guest got a ticket, something like that.
Thank you. Through the chair, I think the best solution for that would be to plan to have the driveway paved during the week, Monday to Friday, at this time.
Sure.
Yeah, or cycle the vehicles, use neighboring properties, a friend's driveway, or the permits that are available, the resident permit, as well as the guest permits, to try to take advantage of the on-street parking as best as possible.
Okay, all right. That's a fair enough answer. It's not one that everybody's going to like, but I appreciate that honesty, so thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to really just comment that I appreciate that the review was done, and some measures, small measures have been taken. So, you know, we hear from a small number of people every season about this, so I'm glad that it's looked at every season. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Regional Councillor Crawford?
Thank you. We still do this, we don't do this in-house, correct? The permitting, like applying for a permit pass, whether you're an Ajax resident or not an Ajax resident. We don't do this in-house, correct?
Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by in-house. We do use a software solution that's hosted.
Right,
Called
that's what I mean.
GTechna.
Because one of the things that I hear is that people don't understand why they have to apply every single year when they're an Ajax resident. Why can't you just send out an email? Not me, I'm not telling you this. They say to me, why can't you just send out an email and as long as nothing has changed, you say, you click a box and you get a permit? Why do they have to go through? But I think it's because we use this other software. So I'm wondering, no?
No, that wouldn't be the reason. Through the chair to Regional Councillor Crawford, it's really about verifying continued eligibility and sort of the integrity of that eligibility list. So the concern when we first implemented it and what we heard from other municipalities that had implemented similar programs were that over time, if you're not continually on some kind of routine basis checking people's eligibility, that people move away and keep their passes, people obtain a new pass and then loan it out to somebody or give them away, and they ultimately sort of become ubiquitous. And there are many people holding permits that are not actually Ajax residents any longer or never were perhaps. So it was really about just that continued verification. But that was how we designed the program originally. On review, I think it was probably a little bit more rigid than it needed to be to.
Because all the information is wiped out every year, right?
It's wiped out as soon as we approve the permit.
Right.
So we're checking that, like the vehicle ownership pieces to make sure that the person is legitimately eligible. But I don't know that we need to do that on an annual basis. It's sort of that balance between user experience and the integrity of the program, and I'm thinking the 3-year period will achieve that balance.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? I just have one. So when we initiated, way back, it was COVID, and we had some, real issues about the number of people visiting our waterfront, and parking was a disaster. And I think that's when most municipalities started charging for parking. And I'm watching it every year. It goes up a little bit every year. And my concern is, and I guess from a perspective of young families who come to our parks, which we're always free, and they want to come to those play areas for their children, there is now a cost associated with that. And I wonder if we take that into consideration as every year these costs go up.
Thank you for the question. I guess I would just emphasize that there is no cost to Ajax residents. All Ajax residents get free permits. The cost is really only to visitors to our community, and that really is the point of the program. It's about looking at the increasing costs of managing the waterfront, a lot of the sort of like behaviors and challenges that we've seen down there, and trying to better balance the cost of managing that between our own residents and visitors to our community.
And I understand that, but when I can remember being able to go from one municipality to another. Some had a waterfront, some did not, whatever, some had a play area, and you could take your children for, you know, a visit somewhere to a park. But that's becoming more and more expensive throughout all municipalities, and I just wonder if there's ever that conversation about that, because I think the intention was always to have parks that were accessible for all, but now it's only accessible if you can afford it. So it's just a thought, something to think in the future, and maybe conversations with other municipalities in the future.
Yeah, I hear your point. I suppose my only comment would be, I think that the trend appears to be toward paid parking programs very similar to ours. We were one of the early adopters, but it seems fairly clear to me that others are following in this manner and not necessarily swinging back the other way, although that may be in our future because of the points you've made.
Thank you for listening. Appreciate your input. Okay. So do I have a mover for that, please? Okay, Councillor Lee? Thank you. Thank you. So we have a presentation, 6.1 on the corporate data strategy. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy 2026. My name is Laura Delpom. I'm the manager of GIS and data services here at the town, and I'm really excited to be here today to present our corporate data strategy to you. So more than ever, municipalities like the town of Ajax are expected to do more with less, be transparent, efficient, and forward-thinking. Being data-driven isn't really a best practice anymore. It's what allows us to make smarter decisions, deliver better services, and stay ready for the future. So the town generates and holds a vast amount and diverse array of data. So this includes things like spatial data, like addresses or locations of our assets, like parks or streetlights, our operational data for all the departmental day-to-day work, transactional service data, as well as data collected from and about our residents and businesses. Data is really one of our most valuable assets, and when used strategically, it can help us make smarter, faster, and more defensible decisions, deliver more efficient services, and respond proactively to the needs of our community. So utilizing data is really not new to the town. We have many data successes and data success stories, including some that I mentioned last time I was here in November, including how we've been harnessing real-time data to improve our senior snow program, as well as, at that time, our newly launched public planning application dashboard to provide that transparency to our residents on what's proposed developments that are going on in their neighborhood. But I did want to share a couple more with you guys today. So the first being our business directory. So previously, our business directory depended on annual regional updates from their employment survey they do every summer. And additional information was captured in various spreadsheets. But this often resulted in outdated, inaccurate, or siloed information. So bringing management of this data set in-house and integrating it with our GIS system has allowed us to have more accurate data, able to customize the information that we're capturing, and better supporting inclusivity, diversity, and overall economic development, while also improving our decision-making and reliability of the data within this directory. So here's kind of a snapshot of what it looks like. With the introduction of our customized tags, which is a new kind of piece of data that we're capturing now that we have it in-house, we're now able to target our outreach more effectively for things like grants, events, and other opportunities so that we ensure we're targeting the correct businesses and businesses that would actually be interested in these things. We've also added things like social media links, and we've been working on rolling in or integrating Google reviews to our public directory, so it allows for overall improved user experience. Another example, which is a more of an internal-facing example, is our switchboard dashboard. So before, we track calls that were incoming to the town using a basic form, which involved having to export this information outside of the system and do some charting and that kind of thing within Excel. However, this made it hard to see patterns and analyze data, especially over time. So now with our Power BI dashboard, we're able to easily visualize switchboard activity, leading to better resource planning, faster responses to resident needs, as well as overall improve our service quality. So this is a snapshot of what our dashboard looks like, and this is only one page of it, so it's quite in depth. But this dashboard now helps us answer important questions, like when call volumes are the highest, which can assist with staffing, staff allocation, which departments get the most calls and what type of calls are they getting, what types of questions are being asked. It can help us communicate or find gaps that exist, both in maybe our website or social media blasts by looking for trends of the calls that are incoming, as well as where additional staffing or training may be, so we can continue to improve our customer service. So we definitely have these examples of successful data projects and how we're already harnessing data to improve our services and to make decisions. However, there's quite common data challenges we run into when we're working on these projects, and this is not unique to us. This is really something that every organization deals with when relating to data. So this is something that we need to find solutions to get over, so we're able to kind of look at these projects and get them up and running much quicker on a corporate level, because we have these small wins, but how do we really expand that to the corporate level and do this more? So there's kind of a variety of different common barriers that we run into, some of them relating to the work that my team often does, and I'm sure other departments can relate to that, is data silos. So departments are capturing data. Sometimes they, separately. Sometimes other departments may or may not know that this data exists. Sometimes departments are capturing very similar, often the same type of data. However, it's siloed. So for just an example would be like our customer related data. So this is collected by various departments in different ways. However, previously it was never connected, and we miss out on that greater picture, the full picture of what's going on. This is why the implementation of our CRM is so important, because it's bringing together all of these different data sets into one database so that we're able to, again, see that full picture of what's going on a higher level. And even when data is accessible, the quality of that data can vary. So that could be, missing information, incorrect information, and this is information that we depend on. So just as an example, we might have a great outreach campaign. However, if we're depending on outdated inventory of our email addresses of our residents or phone numbers, then the campaign may be less successful as it could have been, and it might not be related to the campaign itself, but the data that underlies it that we depend on to really have that outreach. With that, there's also that lack of standardization. So again, with different departments capturing similar information or data points, such as like addresses, very differently, it makes it difficult to bring that information together from different departments or different data systems to see, analyze and see those overall patterns and trends. So there's also that relation to data literacy. So not everyone, all staff, council, anyone, even our residents, don't always know, or are comfortable working with data or understanding data. So building that data literacy, both internally on our staff as well as to the public, is really vital. So again, how do we move forward and tackle these challenges on a corporate level? And the answer really lies in having a clear, actionable data strategy. So a data strategy is much more than just a technical plan. It's a framework that brings together people, processes, and technology to manage our organization's informational assets effectively. So first, it's about the people. We want to empower decision-making and spark innovation by leveraging the expertise and collaboration of staff across all departments and fostering that culture that values data-driven thinking. Second is about our processes. So by standardizing workflows and establishing strong governance, we can ensure our data practices are consistent and they're aligned to our business goals. Thirdly, it's about technology. So ensuring we have modern tools, platforms, and things like automation can help us scale our data capabilities securely and efficiently while opening the door to things like advanced analytics and smarter operations. So with this framework, we're not just managing data. We're unlocking its full potential to drive better decisions and deliver more value to our community. So this is a visual of the framework of our data strategy, and it shows on the left side the inputs to our data strategy. So this includes things like our business goals from our various corporate strategies, and I only had room to list a couple here, but this really obviously expands to quite a few strategies that we have. As well as our current environment of where we're currently at right now. The middle shows elements of our strategy, such as our vision, as well as governance, which will allow us to unlock the insights on the right-hand side. So all of the great game-changing and data-driven decision-making left there. So overall, the vision of this data strategy is really to have the Town of Ajax data be a trusted, strategic, and shared asset to inform enterprise decision-making and enable customer-centric next-generation service delivery. So looking ahead, our data strategy focuses on several main commitments. Improving data governance to set clear policies and standards to keep our data reliable and secure. Making data easier to find and use, so staff, council, as well as residents are able to see this information, and internally for us to be able to make better decisions and provide better services. We're also being looked into scalable tools and infrastructure to ensure we're not just looking at today, but we're planning for future growth and change. Building a data-driven culture is also a priority, so we will be ensuring to work on boosting data literacy and collaboration. And finally, with the above commitments, we are looking to enable those advanced analytics and responsible AI use, and helping us gain deeper insights and respond quicker to new and changing needs. Together, these commitments will help us transform how we're currently using data to drive efficiency, transparency, and value for the Town of Ajax. Skipped one. So to ensure our data strategy is successful, since this is a corporate strategy that involves all departments, we are taking a phased approach over the next couple of years. So phase one, which begins in 2026, is really about building that strong foundation and establishing governance. So this will include looking at policies and standards that support effective data management and stewardship. Phase two, which is planned for 2027, will focus on integration and process optimization. So this means connecting our data systems, streamlining workflows, and making sure our data practices are efficient and aligned across departments. Finally, our phase two, which we're looking to kick off in 2028, will be dedicated to those advanced analytics and innovation. So we will leverage our improved capabilities to unlock deeper insights, support innovation, and drive continuous improvement. So following this structured work plan, we'll be able to address our current challenges, build on our strengths, and position Ajax for long-term success as a data-driven municipality. So in terms of next steps, we'll be focusing on laying that foundation that I mentioned by focusing on data governance, defining corporate data standards, as well as conducting some data inventory and assessment on our critical data sets. We'll also begin looking at data literacy for staff, and looking at identifying departmental champions to work with us on this. Additional information and details on this high-level work plan, including our goals for phase one, is available in the report for your review. Thank you for your attention, and together we will work towards building a smarter, more connected future for Ajax through the power of data. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for your presentation. We do have.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. As we go through each phase, are there not financial implications phase one, for example, which you just said, data standards, training. Is there not a cost to that, or is that already built into all our budgets now?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lee. So a lot of this work will be done in-house. So we do have a lot of the skills in-house on both my team as well as the other departments to assist with the kind of development of our governance and training. We also we developed this data strategy in-house, actually, with the support of Infotech, who has assisted us with best practices and defining kind of our priorities. So we will also be kind of leaning on them, which is something that is already through our current budgets. In addition, if there's anything further to that, I would suggest, or I would think that there would be more financial implications in the later phases once we start kind of developing into the changes and looking at innovation and kind of expanding on our infrastructure, our existing databases, et cetera. So we will be bringing that forward in budgets in the future.
As we evolve, and by the way, this is great that we're doing this. It seems very forward-thinking. I'm just trying to think, as we evolve, we start automating processes. Will this council ever have ability to measure the efficacy of that process? So it's like, how do you measure that we saved 45 hours, man hours, or X amount of dollars? Is there a baseline we're measuring against, or how will we be able to know these savings that our investments will bear fruit for?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lee, that's a great question. So this is something that we've been doing, that we do currently with projects in terms of kind of re-envisioning or digitizing processes. So we capture and we try to capture whenever possible, prior to any changes, the existing time it takes, effort, cost, and kind of the outputs that come out of the existing processes. And then as we reinvent or automate, in many cases, these processes, we then relook at, the time savings, cost savings, or in some cases, it may not be either. It might take more time, but those additional services or improvements we're able to make, and we capture those. And moving forward, we'll be looking at, continuing to capture those and bring those to council so you guys are able to see the actual, outcomes or benefits of these projects as we move forward.
So obviously, AI is the big buzzword everyone's using right now. I
Yes.
think, right now we're using a version of it through Copilot, but we're using it right now. We actually don't have an AI policy right now, correct? Like, I'm assuming that's the governing the use of how municipal employees use AI, how we feed information to AI. How do you keep up ahead of the technology? The technology is always changing pretty quickly, and we need these kind of governance models for us to apply the technology. So how do we keep up with that?
So we do actually have an AI policy, which outlines for staff, especially what, because security is another thing to keep in mind when we're looking and using AI responsibly. So we do have an AI policy that outlines, current models or AI tools that we permit or allow staff to use. And then, of course, if there's any additional or new AI, it's a kind of an ever-changing field that we are constantly reviewing those and ensuring, again, that they are secure and they are a responsible tool. In terms of keeping up with it, our T&I staff have been really looking at ensuring that we're keeping up. We are looking at best practices. We are talking with our neighboring municipalities, seeing what's new. Sometimes and I will say on the AI front, we are leading the way in some cases. I know in my team, on the GIS and data team, we used it to develop that planning applications dashboard that we utilize. So again, it's really just us looking at the field and what's new and trying to keep up with it by also ensuring that we are using it responsibly and securely. So really, it's an education thing. And then on the flip side is allowing and opening up the space for staff when there is ever a new kind of tool or something that they're interested in, that they're able to come to us and we can kind of investigate the use and the details on that.
Last question. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
What if I'm a resident who doesn't want my information as part of your data-driven model? So I want to be off the grid. There's absolutely a few of them right now, right? Is there a provision for that? Or obviously as a municipality, we are allowed certain information like your address, that's within our purview. But if an individual wants to be excluded from our future 3+ year strategy, is there an opt-out to that, of not wanting to be part of that, or we haven't really thought that part out yet?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lee. I think that would be a case-by-case basis, depending on what the data set is. And we'd, of course, work closely with our clerks to see, and our record staff to see, you know, what we're allowed to share and what kind of options there are. But again, I would say that's a case-to-case basis. So it would be something as we look to launch a new project, especially if there's, of course, that public element to it, that we investigate what options there are.
Great, appreciate all the answers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer. Hang on, I'm pushing.
Thank you, Chair Dies. Thank you so much for the presentation, Ms. Delpom. Very interesting. I really, just a comment, thank you for sharing the successes. I think that switchboard dashboard is awesome. I love that information. And I think it will be very, very useful. So I am not I will definitely need data literacy training. So my understanding, data is information. We are gathering and tracking information in order to use that data to make our decisions. So I know some residents submit freedom of information requests, FOI requests.
Yes.
So is this data strategy, is that in any way connected with those requests, or will that make the process easier, better quality, quicker? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So through the chair to Councillor Bauer, it will definitely make the process of collecting this information from staff and departments easier so that we're able to address those FOI requests more frequently. One of the common things that comes up is a lot of the time there'll be data that's requested from departments, and oftentimes it's kind of it's an exercise to collect the information, possibly from various data sets. Sometimes it's an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes it's, you know, depending on what the records specifically are. So one of the things that through this strategy is that data inventory. So having that data inventory and the data stewards, so that throughout the FOI process, we're able to, you know, direct the questions and gather the information from the correct people, as well as those departments have the information as we hopefully move towards consolidating this information, having one or less sources to gather this information through. So it should improve the process and hopefully speed up the FOI request in terms of gathering that information.
Awesome, thank you. And then I think one of the comments was about making some of this information available or user-friendly to a resident. So would that, do you anticipate that at one day a resident could just look up all this information themselves instead of having to come to the town to say, I want this stuff and make a request?
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Bauer, again, it will depend on the type of data that they're requesting. Some will need to go through the FOI process, but we are looking towards creating more self-service options and making that available online. So residents will be able to go to those tools or data sets to be able to gather that information themselves in many cases. So it'll just depend on what the data that they're looking for is.
Excellent, thank you very much. That was my question, Chair.
Thank you. Regional Councillor Crawford.
It's so funny because my husband just got a request from the dentist's office wanting an upgrade on his medical report, and he was so insulted. He said, someone could steal my identity. He never watches these meetings, so I'm safe. But I just thought it was so funny because when you said that, I thought, well, that was my husband this morning. So he was ready to pack up his dental records and go somewhere else. But anyway, I admire your enthusiasm for all of this. And what I would like to know is, at the end of 3 years, what do you hope to see? Like, what's your utopia in all of this?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So through the chair to Councillor Crawford, I would like to, or we would like to see the data that we currently have and data that we're going to be capturing in the future actually being used for something and being able to apply that data to actually be able to get it to a point where we can analyze it. So a lot of the cases, we have a lot of raw data or data that's unformatted, unstructured, and it makes it difficult to see and really act on that data. So what I would like to see is data being utilized more frequently for decision making, being able to have the data accessible and in a state that's usable for both staff and council and the public to be able to, keep up with what is happening in the world, or what is happening in the town, as well as, making those really critical decisions that you as council make, as well as, our senior management team, and being able to use that information to actually make those decisions and be able to depend on it and use that information to explain why these decisions are being made.
So more transparency.
Exactly.
Because based on data.
Yep, exactly.
So we're not guessing.
Exactly. Or based on assumptions or, secondhand or firsthand conversations you're having with different people. Sometimes we're capturing these small bits, but again, we lose that bigger picture. And with that, also streamlining our processes. And, we have such talented staff here at the town. I would really like to look at automations and consolidating information together to make it easier for them to access as well. And they're not spending time bogged down on, manipulating information or pulling information out of one system and structuring it in a different way for a report, for example.
So I'm assuming then all of our departments will start to talk together
Yes.
with this system, because that's one of the things that, we're all in different, some of us are all in different buildings, right? So we'll be able to talk and consolidate more so that we all know what's going on in other departments.
Exactly. That collaboration is huge. Breaking down those data silos so departments know what information is out there and help each other, and again, consolidating it together so it's just easier and we have that one source of truth that we can all depend on.
Great. Well, thank you for your enthusiasm and your answer.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your presentation. Are there any other questions from council? Thank you very much for coming.
Awesome.
And I know, I must say that it's challenging keeping up. Things move very quickly in IT.
Yes.
And over the past 2 terms here, it's made tremendous improvements, and we're catching up, and it's made a huge difference for all of us. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, moved by Councillor Crawford. Okay. Okay, that's approved. Thank you. So moving on, we do have a closed session. We have 2 items on the closed session, 7.1 property acquisition and disposal, and 7.2 the Ajax Professional Firefighters Association collective agreement. Are there questions on these 2 issues to go into camera for? Are there any questions or? Is there a presentation that needs to come forward? For this? Okay. You have a question? Well, we can go into camera, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So we'll move into camera then.
Through you, Madam Chair, can you please read the exemptions we're going into closed session for, or would you like me to read them?
Is it on 7.1 or 7.2? Yeah. On 7.2?
Would you like me to read
So
the
we'll go into
exemptions?
closed session for Ajax Professional Firefighters Association collective agreement. Okay.
So through you, Madam Chair. So the exemption that we'll be using today under the Municipal Act is Section 239 2D to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations. For item 7.2, Ajax Professional Firefighters Association Local 1092 collective agreement. You can open the vote.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So motion to move in camera.
Up top. Hit the switch up there.
So I need a motion to move into this session out of closed session, please. So Rob Tyler Moran, Councillor Rob Tyler Moran, and I only need the one. Thank you.
To you, Madam Chair, can I confirm what we're voting on? 7.1? We've done that in closed session, yeah, so we can.
We're going to vote for, on 7.2 for council for approval. Okay. Sorry?
Can we do both at the same time or separate?
Two separate? Okay, 7.1. Then we'll do 7.1 first. Can we have a vote on that? Okay, Councillor Lee. All in favor, if you'd vote, please. Thank you. So we're good? Okay, so 7.2 is Ajax Professional Firefighters Association Collective Agreement. Do you want me to read the motion? You're good? Okay, all in favor? Please vote, okay, sorry. Thank you, Sterling, you vote in favor? I have to get used to the old. Thank you very much. So we need a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Rob Tyler Moran, thank you. Thank you, everyone.